Alright, hello everyone, it's Ferric, and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. As you can see, I'm in the Nucleus Gallery in Novus, which is where you find the Manticore's Madness, which is the final fight, the final instance of Novus for the final boss, which is the Aeon of Atavus. Now, this fight is nothing like King's Isle has ever released before, and a lot of people are very confused on what the spells do or how to beat it as efficiently as possible, and they also patch the exploit people use to completely skip the main portion of the fight. But today I will show you how to beat this fight efficiently, and I'm also going to give one example run as well, just to show you the strategy in action. And in my opinion, it is actually viable to solo farm this fight, even right now in its unchanged state with Reindeer Knight existing as a spell that gives a minus 60% shield. It will be getting some changes, although those changes will make the fight easier, which means I might have to update this video when I get back. But for now, if you want to farm it, this video should be very helpful. At this point, I have farmed every single Aeon and Masterpiece for every gear slot, for every school, so I have a pretty good feeling for how the drops are like in this world. I won't go too in depth about my opinions on the loot system in this world and how the drop rates are. I'll say that for another video. They're not very positive thoughts, but I will say that this final boss is the one you'll have to farm to get your hat, robe, and wands, which do not drop anywhere else. It also gives sword pins, tier and triangle socket jewels, world spellments from Caramel, Lemuria, and Novus, and a chance at pixels, which are needed to make the alternative defensive eternal set of gear. Now, before I get started, I did want to update y'all on where I've been, because I've been very inconsistent with uploads recently, and I did get really sick about a month ago, so I couldn't post anything at all. And then on top of that, I did make last minute plans to visit family in another country, and I'm going to be gone pretty much the rest of my winter break. And I wanted to make more videos as well, but with how limited my time is, this is probably the only one you're going to get for a few weeks. But I hope it's helpful. It is a super scuffed video because you know, it's put together very last minute, and you know, I'm having a hard time explaining the fight myself to everyone. It is very different from what they've done in the past, but hopefully you find this video helpful regardless. Definitely, if you have questions, leave them down in the comments below, please. I will try to get to them. I'll try one day while I'm there to read comments and try to answer some questions. But yeah, if you will, I feel like people will be confused no matter what I do to explain this, because it is just a confusing fight. But it's also going to be long because I'm going to give you an example run as well at the end, which takes about 27 minutes or however long it takes. But anyways, hope you enjoy. Let's get started. Now, for the fight itself, when you enter, you're going to notice 4 bosses, which each of them represents one of the races or creatures in Novus. Each one represents 2 schools, except for the dog here on the right. And the Valencian, the unicorn, is Storm and Life. The Monkistan is Fire and Myth. And then the penguin is Ice and Death. And then obviously the dog is Balance. Now, these pairings of schools are not chosen randomly. And actually, I'm going to pull up right here the Roshambo wheel. You'll notice that all of these pairings are actually shown on the wheel. So we have the Storm and Life together here, we have Fire and Myth together here, and we have Death and Ice together here. Now, because of this, there's a rock, paper, scissors rule with boosting on the bosses. The Storm and Life one, these 2 schools, boost on the Fire and Myth schools. The Fire and Myth, these 2, boost on the Death and Ice. The Death and Ice boost on the Storm and Life. And that's just kind of how this rock, paper, scissors thing works. And on the other hand, if you go backwards with those same pairings, these schools will actually resist Storm and Life hits. Fire and Myth will resist Death and Ice. Life and Storm will resist Fire and Myth. This is an important thing I'll get back to later on. And the thing I have on the right is actually this really cool Roshambo wheel that was actually made by Onion Cave on Reddit. Shout out to them. I think this is a really, really helpful thing to look at. Basically, it takes this Roshambo wheel and it takes whatever hanging effect that school has as their primary identity and just visualizes that for you. So Storm's primary identity for their hanging effect is positive charms, blades. Life's identity is heal over times. Fire would be damage over times. Myth would be jinxes or negative wards or traps, whatever you want to call them. Ice would be shields or absorbs positive wards, whatever you want to call them. And then Death would be weaknesses, infection, negative charms, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, this is basically just a general overview of how the Roshambo system works. Now, the way the fight itself works is in two phases. There's the first phase, which is the polymorph phase, and that's actually the bulk of the time you spend in the fight, and then there's the regular phase. I'll first explain the regular phase, which comes after, because it is pretty straightforward, and that's how you know what deck setup you're going to want to run. So basically, once you get to this phase, there's essentially no cheats that work against any type of hanging effect that you use. So once you make it here, it's essentially just another 1v4, or I guess in most cases it's going to be a 1v3 boss fight. And if you use anywhere between 3 to 6 blades, depending on what your stats are, you should be able to easily just use an AoE and kill all the bosses. Because I've been farming this solo, what I just do on my fire here is once I unpolymorph, I go for, a sharpened fire blade, a regular fire blade, and then I frenzy, and then actually my pet has will cast wildfire, which it's another 35% buff, and I can use it without having to use up an extra turn. Depending on how many debuffs I have, which might end up getting changed once they change the fight, because they don't want you to really get debuffed like crazy in this fight. I might also use an extra fire blade if it gets real bad. I sometimes have myth pips on, and I even use earthquake. But I go for all these buffs, and then I go for a rain of fire. Now, rain of fire, it's close to the same amount of damage as fire dragon. It's actually a little bit less, but because right now in this current version of the fight, there is the Reindeer Knight, which uses minus 60 tower shields. I do like most of my damage on the back end of Rain of Fire. That way I can also, if I'm on max pips, combo with a Raging Bull, get it to all detonate. And it just works out really nicely for me when I'm soloing. It's a really consistent, really nice strategy. And it actually does make this spell right here useful for once. But that's basically what I do, and that's what happens in the regular phase of the fight, which happens after the polymorph phase. Now, where this fight is very different from any other fight in the game is the polymorph phase. At the beginning, this Aeon thing in the back here will devour all players for a turn until the spinner lands back on the Monkeyston, and when they're undevoured, the player's going to assume a polymorph that's going to be one of these guys randomly. And these polymorphs have about 30,000 HP, pretty high resist. I think the Wizard101 wiki lists them at 70 resist and a lot of outgoing damage. I believe they have 170 outgoing damage. Now, going back to the boosting rules as I explained previously, if you polymorph into the penguin, that's death and ice, you're going to want to target the horse, the unicorn. If you are the unicorn, you're going to want to target the Monkeyston. And if you're the Monkeyston, you target the penguin. That's once again, if I pull up this little Roshambo thing, again, storm life targets fire myth targets ice death, so on and so forth. And that's because each of these mobs have 50% resist to the schools they counter. So the ice one and ice death, which counters storm life, if you are the unicorn and you hit the ice one, it's going to have 50 resist. Now keep in mind they have 170 damage, but while you're in the polymorph, you have 0 pierce, which is another reason why the Reindeer Knight thing is really, really annoying. But again, they're going to end up changing that spell for this specific fight, not the overall spell, just for this fight. The version of Reindeer Knight will eventually be changed. I know that's going to happen whenever the next update hits. But yeah, so you don't want to hit the one that you counter, but when you hit the one that you do counter, so if I'm the ice death form, if I'm the penguin, if I target the storm with my hits, I have 50% outgoing boost. And with the 170 damage you already have, that's a 2.7 multiplier, a 1.5 multiplier. When you multiply those together, it's about 4 times the amount of damage. So whatever damage you see on your card, you're going to do 4 times that amount. So you can see how, following just this one rule will help you out a ton in this fight. And if you get the dog, by the way, you just target the dog. Balance just targets balance. So that's what you do. But the goal of this phase is to get out of it as fast as possible, because the polymorphs last 20 rounds. Now you could wait out those 20 rounds and get back to the regular phase where you can just start, blade AoEing, but you don't want to do that because the amount of animations that are in this fight, it'll take you like close to 30 minutes to unpolymorph, even if you're like spamming pass. And not to mention you're going to take a lot of damage, and there's going to be another boss alive that's going to be really, really annoying for you. So I would recommend trying to actually follow the rules of the fight. And the rules are that you have to defeat one of the mobs, and the player that ends up, or one of the bosses, the player that ends up landing the defeating shot, the killing shot or whatever, ends up immediately that round unpolymorphing so that they can use their regular spells. And at that point, that player would just blade stack and then AoE. So that's pretty much the gist of like how you want to do this fight in terms of like the overall basic rules of how to do this fight. Now, the reason the fight is designed this way is to get you to use the new Archmastery feature in Wizard101. So if I actually open up my deck here, you can see deck Archmastery set to death. This is just the default thing that I like to have set for this fight, because the way it works is Archmastery takes existing power pips you have and turns them into school pips. You can still use those school pips as regular power pips for your school, but then you can also use that school pip as a power pip for another school you don't have mastery to. That's one way it works. Another way it works is there are specific cards in the game. For example, if I'm on a fire here, there's specific cards like this right here, Nautilus Unleashed, which cost 3 regular pips, but then cost an additional fire-specific pip on top of it. So even though I'm on a fire wizard right now, I have fire mastery. Even if I have 3 power pips and then a fifth, or 3 pips and then another, power pip, so I do have the 5 pips total, I do need a specific fire pip as well to be able to cast this spell. So yeah, it gives you basically mastery to other schools for the pips that you have of that school, and then some spells just require certain school pips. So you're going to be changing around your pips a lot, and this, you can change it through this thing right here. This also pops up in combat as well next to your health, so you can change them, mid-round, so that the next turn you convert a power pip into an existing power pip into another school pip. So that's how that works. And it also is designed this way to introduce you to the Roshambo type ramp spell. Now, a ramp spell is one of these types of spells where you might have seen them on the different professors. If you don't do PvP, you might be confused. They're PvP only normally, and essentially they take a hanging effect that's positive for the enemy or negative towards you, and then it turns it into something that's either positive towards you or negative towards the enemy. And where Archmastery comes into play is that obviously the hits themselves in the fights in the polymorph forms, they require specific school pips to use, which are displayed at the end. So actually, I'm going to open up the Wizard101 wiki right here just to show you. I'm going to go in a little bit more in detail when I show you exactly what you want to do, but as you can see, you have all these different things. You have utility spells, which don't cost any school pips, but then your main hits are all going to cost 0 pips, but then they're going to cost a specific amount of school pips. And obviously, the damage increases depending on how many school pips are used. Once again, keep in mind these values. If you are targeting the form that you are supposed to counter, you will do about 4 times the amount that it says on the card. So keep that in mind. Now, every form except the dog comes with, and I'm actually going to show you once again, they come with 1 school pip hits, 2 school pip hits, and 3 school pip hits. And that's 1 for each of the schools. So for example, on the unicorn, which is Storm and Life, I have this one, 1 pip, I have a Life 1 pip, then I have 2 pip hits, I have some, Storm Life ones, I also have Death Storm ones, and Life Fire ones, and, another Life Storm one. And these pairings right here, again, if we look at the Roshambo wheel, Storm and Life, right? Storm and Life, they also, like, each of these schools individually also synergize with another school. So that's why you'll see for your other schools, you have 2 additional schools to also have school pips for. And because fire is right in front of life, you'd have life fire hits. And because death is directly behind storm, you'd have death storm hits as well. And then for your 3 pip hits, it takes obviously your 2 primary schools that your form is, and then it combines them with one of these. So if we actually check right here, we have the Death Banshee right here, uses the 2 Storm pips plus the Death pip, so it uses 3 school pips for that hit. And then we also have the We Are Madness Firecat hit, which again primary, and then adds another one of the secondary schools for that form onto it as well. Hopefully this is not confusing. By the way, I do apologize. This fight is a little bit complicated, but hopefully I've not lost you by now. But anyways, yeah, it is a pretty confusing fight, but and I won't go in detail on what every single card does. All these, this might look like you're trying to learn a whole new language, but if you are confused, if you open up your spell book, go to help here, and go to icon dictionary, it does explain everything here. So for your school pips, this is what a balance pip looks like: myth pip, fire pip, life pip, storm pip, death pip, ice pip. And then for the hanging effects, you have charms, curses, which are like negative charms, weaknesses, whatever you want to call them, wards, which are like shields, jinxes, which are like traps, aura, which every form does get an aura. So this right here, which is very, very helpful. Again, I'll explain once I explain what the ideal way to use each form is. And then yeah, you also get your different hits, and then the dog is slightly different from the other ones because it's a really interesting form. I'm not the biggest fan of it in solo, but I'll explain how it works. But yeah, you have blades as well. So sometimes it uses charms and blades interchangeably. You also have 2 other symbols that are important. You have the caster self. This is just to show you that it's targeting yourself, whatever the condition is, and then this is showing that it's on the enemy. And then the last 2 things that I believe you'll need to know about are heal over times and damage over times. These are pretty much all the cards that you'll have, or all the symbols you'll have on all those. But Icon Dictionary is up to date, and it is super helpful. Would definitely recommend checking this out if you want to know what things do. Now again, I'm not going to explain what each and every card does for every single form. I'll just go through each form in general and explain what the strategy is. Now in general, you're going to want to set up the conditions, because if we check out this spell right here, for example, we do 860 damage, and hopefully this is big enough. I'll try to zoom in a bit. 860 damage, or times 2 if the enemy has a jinx, a dot, and the caster has a shield on. If you meet all these 3 conditions, then it's going to do 1720 damage total, which, keep in mind, if you're targeting, so for example, this is on the Monkeeson, right? It's a myth fire hit. If I use this, meet all the conditions, target the penguin, because this is the Monkeeson's hit, I boost on the penguin, it's going to do 4 times that amount, because 170 outgoing damage boost, 50% boost on the penguin. It does a lot. In general, you want to set up these, because that's going to be the fastest way to deal a lot of damage and take out the mob as fast as possible, while using the least amount of rounds, least amount of animation time. And that applies for all schools. And in my opinion, there's a better one of these 3 pip things to use on each school. And with the balance one, you also have these 4 school pip things. Now, I would still recommend using the 3 pip ones, and again, I'll go in detail on which ones you should use. But if you use a 3 pip thing, you meet all the conditions, it will do around 11,000 damage, and then a follow-up of that same one would end up killing the boss, and then that results in whoever ends up using the killing hit to unpolymorph. And if you are soloing, you just move on to the regular combat phase. But if you are on a team, once that person unpolymorphs from defeating one of the bosses, your teammates are still polymorphed. So what they're going to want to do to unpolymorph is go for as high of a school pip hit as possible, because the way they unpolymorph is through a little bit of RNG. The way it works is, for each school pip the spell costs, and I don't know why this music is so loud, like, I don't know why it's doing that. If it was going to be that loud, I would never have it on. But basically, per school pip, it's a 20% chance. So if my teammate unpolymorphed because they ended up using the killing blow, a 1 school pip hit will have a 20% chance of unpolymorphing you, 2 is going to be a 40%, and the 3 is going to be a 60% chance. So you want to go for a 3 school pip hit to have the highest chance of unpolymorphing and supporting your teammates. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a fan of this rule at all. I think the entire team should be allowed to unpolymorph, because it just adds unnecessary RNG, and it just makes the fight kind of like less fun to play on a team, because it just makes less team play, in my opinion. You can't really help out your team and to be rewarded for trying to, unpolymorph fast. But that's basically what you do for those forms. And if you're on the balance form, obviously, and your teammate unpolymorphs because they, one of the bosses died, then you could actually go for these 4 school pip hits, which gives you an 80% chance of unpolymorphing. But keep in mind, these will only work to unpolymorph you once an enemy is defeated, and you wait a turn after that. So let's say on turn, let's say on turn 10, my teammate defeats, I'm the Monkeeson, my teammate defeats the penguin, they unpolymorph. You have to wait until turn 11 to start using the school pip hits as a teammate to unpolymorph. So that's how the main combat mechanics of this fight work. Hopefully that was super long. I don't know, again, I'm going to look at y'all's feedback when I get back from vacation and make this video a lot better, hopefully, but hopefully that wasn't too confusing. At this point, I'm going to show you what exactly you're going to want to go for on each form, in my opinion, what is the best to try to get this done as fast as possible, and we'll see how it goes. So now I'm going to go through each form and tell you what is, in my opinion, the best strategy to go for, and to defeat the enemy as fast as possible. So to start off, keep in mind you'll get multiple copies of these cards. These are all the cards that you'll have in your deck for these 3 forms. Again, shout out to the wiki masters and all the people that work so hard to put all these things on the wiki. It makes it so much easier to make videos like these. But so we'll start off with the Monkeeson. So on the Monkeeson, what you're going to want to go for, again, you're going to want to go for these 3 pip hits. The hit, in my opinion, that is the better hit to go for is actually this right here, this Magma Man looking spell, this myth one. I think it's better than this one because, again, it does the same damage, but one of the hanging effects you need is a trap. And the trap itself, this a gift for you, this myth trap, it will actually, even if the trap ends up getting consumed and there's no more traps left over, it will still count that as part of the condition because it looks at the condition first and then consumes the trap. And that trap will actually boost the damage, which is why that's what allows this hit to do 11,000 damage. When you have the trap on, plus this aura up, plus you have the condition set up to do ×2 damage, it will do 11,000 damage. Or it's more like 11,500 or something like that. But yeah, so... And usually on any form that you use, it will not be able to take them out completely. The penguin has like 18,000 HP. The unicorn has like 14,000. Monkeyson has 15,000. The dog has 17,000. So you only need to go for 2 of these for each form that you defeat, that you want to go for. So the way you would want to play the fire Monkeyson form is you want to cycle for this card right here, this 0 pip myth trap card that helps you build pips. And again, you have to make sure you're managing your pips too. So the first thing I do as soon as I get the Monkeyson is I build 2 fire pips, 2 ice pips, and 2 myth pips, because that's how many I'm going to need to use 2 of these spells back to back once I have all the conditions set up. And then I like to set up the conditions so that I can just back to back use these hits. I think that's the fastest way to go about it. So I go for this little myth trap thing twice. That's the first thing I do. And then the mobs themselves, and I forgot to mention this earlier, the mobs themselves are casting spells that put a lot of hang effects, and you will eventually be able to take those hang effects and use these ramp spells to help you. So this form requires the trap, and you know that's where we get the 2 traps from for the 2 hits, and you only get 2 of these spells, by the way, for the actual hits. You only get 2 of these 3-pip hits, so if you pull one, you have to hold on to it. But yeah, trap, a damage over time. Now you could use this spell right here, but I actually prefer this spell because of Reindeer Knight. 1, it does more damage. 2, you'll build pips fast enough to where by the time you have it set up, at least if you're soloing, I think this is a nicer spell. If you're on a team, you might just want to use this just to save your, not have to use the fire school pip. But if you're soloing, I like this better. But yeah, it's because of Reindeer Knight and how annoying it is, and just, you know, just to do extra damage. But yeah, the damage over time, and then you also have to have a shield to meet the hang effect. And you'll notice that 2 hang effects on every single form are very easy to set up. They're these 0 pip things. But then the other one, you're going to have to use a ramp spell and rely on the enemy to cast something to be able to use it. So you have to use this mind spell right here. It clears 2 wards on the enemy for death wards on you, which is nice because only the penguin can use death hits. So there's a lower chance of you actually losing those death shields to them hitting. So so go for this twice. Then you know, I would honestly then aura, go for this spell, go for this, and then hit with this twice. It's a 4-round aura. So, and make sure you're cycling your hand well so that you aura, then go for this to give yourself the 2 death shields so that there's a lower chance of you losing them. And then go for this. This will clear weakness off you, clear shield on the enemy, and give your damage over time condition, which is really nice. And then you set up your spell, use this twice. You should be able to kill the penguin, the penguin, because you want to target the penguin with this form. Now for the unicorn, and once again, this is where, like, starting off with the death pip, in my opinion, is the best pip. The way it works is they're ordered from left to right in alphabetical order. So you have balance pips, then death, then ice, I believe, or no, it goes, balance, death, fire, ice, life, storm. I forgot a school. Whatever. Point is, start off with the death pip, because it's all the way towards the left. If you do not need the death pip, it will then end up using the death pip if you're on the Monkeyson form, which is, it's just the best in my opinion. And then it is a useful pip to have for the rest of the 3 forms. But basically, for this form, what I like using is, again, for the 3 pip that I like the Banshee because the blade right here actually buffs the spell as well. So once again, you're doing more damage by going for that. But for this form, it's just like this one. I like to go for the 2 blades first instead of the 2 traps. Use these first, and then go for an aura. And then actually the first thing I like to do is use this spell right here. It clears a dot on you to put on 2 infections on the enemy, and you target the Monkeyson with this form, the fire myth one, and that one doesn't actually heal to remove the negative charm. So and then also clearing a dot also saves animation time, and you need it for the condition. You need negative charms, a blade on you, and a heal over time on yourself. So I go for this, then 2 blades, and then I like to aura. And then on this form, I actually do like to use the Seraph spell because it when you're soloing, it clears debuffs while also clearing a buff on you, a trap to put on the heal over time to meet your heal over time condition. But you could also go for this spell right here. And if you're on a team, you would obviously use this to save yourself the school pip. But yeah, do this, then Blade, then Aura, then get a heal over time on you somehow by using either this spell or this spell. And then just use 2 of these, and then you do kill. That's what you do for the unicorn. Now for the penguin, this one is kind of annoying if you're doing it solo, especially from second, because your 2 easy hang effects to set up for both of these 2 3-pip things is the shield and the infection. But the problem is you use these on the horse, which can use up the infections and use up the shields very easily. So it does make it kind of annoying to go from second. So I would really just... The main thing you want is, if you're on a team, you'd use this spell right here, because you would use this spell right here, Mind the Ice. You'd clear 2 charms on them to put on 2 traps to meet your trap condition for this spell. And that's helpful because then any of your teammates can hit. If you are soloing, I prefer this one right here because it clears charms to put on Death Blades, which are a higher percentage, which means it does more damage. And yeah, and then also because just the way it combos with, like, things like this spell right here, where I can clear a charm to put on a shield on myself, it just works nicer when you're soloing to use the death one. But yeah, I try to hard cycle to pull this spell, to have this spell in my hand, and to have these spells in my hand, also maybe a wyvern or 2 in my hand. And then what I do is any excess storm shields and infections I have, I just spam these until I get to a point where I can safely aura or steal the blades, get the blades on me, aura, and then use this twice. And then I could also use a spell like this to clear a heal over time to put on 2 storm shields on me. It's a really great way to get yourself 2 storm shields in 1 turn. And then also, if you have like a Deer Knight weakness on you, you can clear them and put on 2 weaknesses on the enemy, and those are mantle weaknesses as well. So it can basically guarantee you the weakness condition as well. It'll make more sense. What I should really do, and I'll do this once I get back from vacation, I'll make a separate video, an example video of me doing each form. And that way, hopefully you'll be able to see all these in action. I'll do 1 example run in this video. Hopefully it won't make it too long, but we'll see how it goes. Last but not least, the dog. This is my least favorite form because this form is all about RNG. This spell right here, I think, is completely useless. Don't even look at this spell. This is only useful if you're like on a team and, I don't know, you're trying to get RNG pips to get your high school pips, but it's just not worth it in my opinion. Just discard this spell as soon as you see it. I think they should just take it out of the deck. Now, your minimum school pip hits are 2 pips, and the way it works is you have to use this spell right here, and it puts on a random hanging effect. A dot, a shield, a charm, a jinx, a hot, or a negative charm, a weakness, and it puts on an infection one so that, it's a lower chance of him using it up because then he has to heal to use it up. But the fact that it's random is really annoying because for these, I guess you could go for the 2 pip ones if you get the random hanging effect, but then you just have to use more spells, which uses up more animation time, and it's just really annoying. You also only get 2 of each school for these spells right here, so it's just not fun. In my opinion, the best thing to go for are actually these 3 pip hits. These 4 ones are way too difficult to set up. You just need way too many things, and like even on a team, I think they're just not worth it. Enemy has a damage over time, which is limited. You have a heal over time that's limited. It's just not worth it. You only use these if you are on a team and you are trying to unpolymorph. Otherwise, if you're soloing, just completely discard these spells. Ignore them. Pretend they don't exist. Also, this 3 pip spell right here, I think is also not worth it because it's if you have a heal over time and shield. Heal over times are limited time hang effects, and shields are storm shields, which are going to get broken off anyways. Just discard this as soon as you see the spell. Don't ever go for life or ice pips in this fight. It's just not worth it. And at that point, you might as well also discard this and this, although you can keep them to break debuffs, which honestly won't be a thing in the future once they remove the Reindeer Knight shield. But yeah, so, and then you could keep some of these, but yeah, the main thing you want to go for, if you're on a team, this is the best spell right here because you're spamming this spell early on while you're building up school pips, and it makes it very easy for the enemy to get a damage over time and an infection on them, because then any of your teammates can go for it and anyone can help set that up for you if you get good RNG and get those to happen. So if you're on a team, this is definitely the best spell to go for. If you're soloing, this is actually the best because this requires a trap and a blade on yourself, and those are permanent hang effects. It does balance damage, so it will never use up your blade or trap. Once you have that, you can go for 2 of these, and it does times 1.5 damage because you only have 2 hang effects, but it still does a lot. I believe with the aura, if you get an open hit of this, it does 6,500, so you only need 2 of these plus like 1 of these right here, or you know, even 1 of these, or like an unconditioned this thing right here, or like maybe like 4 or so hits or whatever, and you can kill with it. Again, still the most annoying form in my opinion, but that is how it works. Again, I hope y'all are not confused by this. This is the best I can do. This is a very last minute video, and I will show you an example run here now. I've pretty much finished explaining how everything works, all the 2 phases, what to do on each form. At this point, I can't end off the video without doing one example run, so I'm just going to real quickly take a breather here, and we're going to do one run. Alright, time to do this fight right here. I have no idea what hang effect or what form I'm going to end up getting polymorphed into. It's going to end up being random. It's always random. But we'll see how it goes. So you join the fight. I start off with, you know, a death pip right here. And the first thing I do is I just take whatever spells I have and I try to enchant them. Just to make sure, you know, I have as many cards in my hand when I come back as possible. And then you just pass because it won't actually let you cast any spells. So I'm going to get devoured here. And what I'm going to end up doing is, once I get back from break when I have time, I'm going to show every single form. And what is that music that's playing? Is that a sound effect? The little, like, where's that coming from? I don't even know where that's coming from. Is that from like a video or something? I have no idea where that's coming from. Is that like... Oh, it's my alarm! Oh my goodness. Y'all heard that? The little like, that was my alarm this whole time. Oh my goodness, that's... We're keeping that in the video. Alright, so we got the Monkiston. Oh my goodness, I'm already messing up. Okay, discard those, discard those. I have my aura, I have my 3-pip spell, I switch to a fire pip, I just pass. Let me turn on the sound effects. Oh my goodness, this is ultra scuffed already. Okay, so what happened there is oh my goodness. I was like, what is that playing in the background all the time? Is that like the music? That's like really, really annoying. And it was my alarm the whole time. I guess we're keeping that in the video. This is going to be the most scuffed video ever. Okay, so we built a fire pip. We need 2 of those, 2 fire, 2 ice, 2 myth pips. And I didn't pull my traps, which is the first thing you want to go for. Again, on this form, I'm going to target the penguin right here because that's how I do the most damage. Oh, and then, I forgot to mention, there's also this roar cheat happens, but, you know, it's just damage. It just happens every, like, 2 or 3 turns or something like that. That's just, you know, one of the cheats. Really the only real cheat. All right, so I pulled this spell. I only need to hold on to one of them. Get rid of this, get rid of this, get rid of this. Again, I didn't pull anything. I'm actually going to get rid of this because I'll pull more of those later on. I could also get rid of this. In fact, I'm going to get rid of it because I know I'll be able to pull in easily. And I'll get rid of this as well because I get multiple copies of those. Right now, I really just need to cycle and pull from my myth traps. Keep my fire pip here because I do need 2 of them. So I'll just go ahead and pass here again. Unfortunate start. Pretty bad starting hand, but should be fine. All right, that absorb helps me set up for my steel shield spells. That's pretty good. And yeah, so a lot of their spells that they use are just help set up hang effects. They do have some just like straight hits right here. Like for example, this spell right here is just a straight up hit. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of hang effects this fight. Now, a lot of the time this fight is spent on like animations, which, you know, I don't mind long fights like this existing in Wizard101. This fight, in my opinion, it's really fun that there's like strategy, there's elements of strategy to it that's different from just, you know, only brainlessly blade AoEing. But the problem is, this game is turn-based. The way you, like, if you make something grindy, if it is a long fight, it's just a lot of players are not going to like that because 95% of your time is just spent watching animations. Don't get me wrong. The animations for spells in this game, I think a lot of people think they're really cool. And real quick, let's just make sure I'm paying attention here. Wow, I still haven't pulled a trap. That is insanely unlucky. At this point, I'm going to build for myth pips. Those are the next types of pips I need. I'm just going to go ahead and pass here again, but I'll keep on explaining. But yeah, like 95% of your time, like look, it took me like 4 seconds to pick that move. Now I'm just going to be waiting like a minute for animations, right? And like, again, don't get me wrong. I think the animations for spells in this game are really cool. But the problem is, when I'm farming a fight, when my time is being invested into farming a fight to get a piece of gear, I've seen the spell 1,000 times, dude. I've quested to 160. I've seen the spell more times than, you know? So, and, like, there's just, like, very little active input for most of the time. So it just makes it, like, for long fights like these where, you know, it's mostly just animation time. It just, you know, it just doesn't work out that well. But anyways, let's keep on building another myth pip. I finally pulled my 2 traps. Again, we target the penguin, so we're going to use these traps on the penguin. Let's go ahead and do that. And there's a lot of shields set up right here, by the way, which is really good for us. That's going to help us once we pull that shield to shield spell. It's going to help us set up that hang effect condition. And, yeah. So, again, they're just stacking things on me that can, you know, if I'm another form, I can turn those things into positive things for myself, which is pretty nice. So there is that. But yeah. Anyways, we kind of just, like, you see what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of animations. Like, I don't even know what to talk about right now while I'm just waiting. So, yeah, there we go. Got the myth trap, and okay, that's my pet going off. This is just a solo PvE pet that I made, by the way. If I actually go here and just show you this is the pet. I think it's a really nice pet. I'll be doing a lot of, like, pet guides and, like, solo PvE. Like, there's just a bunch of videos I want to make. It's just, I set up these last minute, like, plans, so I won't be available to make them until later on, but we'll see how everything goes. I'm sure it'll all work out. Anyways, ice pip, because I do have my fire myth pip set up. Get rid of these and discard everything that I don't need, because I do need to pull those shield to shield spells again. At this point, I'm even going to discard this because I really need the shield to shield spells, and I'm going to use this myth trap right here. Got both of our traps up. Now I need to shield to shield. I need to Efreet to clear some debuffs and set up my dot condition. And then I need to aura and then just hit. Or I could aura first, because again with the aura, it lasts 4 turns, so I can do whatever I want for the first 2 turns as long as I have 2 turns spent hitting. I can take my time with it all, so it's pretty nice. But right here, like even the damage over time is like, just the animation time is like really long. So I don't know. They're like, again, I'm not trying to like discredit the people that made the people worked hard to make all these like really cool animations in the game, and that's great. But when I'm farming, I don't need to see those over and over again. So I think there should be an animation skip feature in the game, something like that. And that doesn't mean do that and then, you know, keep the drop rates so that, you know, it still takes me 15 minutes. Like, let's say the fight takes me 15 minutes and the drops are balanced based on that, right? And 1 second, let me just make sure I'm paying attention. Okay, don't need another one of these. We have those. Don't need this. Don't need this. Aura is nice here. We could go for Aura. And I'm going to build another Ice Pip. I'm going to hold on to this as well. Hopefully I pulled a shield to shield spell next. I did discard 2 of these, so I don't want to discard any more in case I need to use 2 of these. Let's go ahead and do this. I have 19 cards left, so I should be able to pull one soon, hopefully. But yeah, so yeah, if this fight is designed to take, you know, 15 to 20 minutes and the drops are balanced on that, right? But that 15 to 20 minutes is because of animation time. I think the effort of using the strategy and doing it as few turns as possible is what should be rewarded. So, and without the animations, this fight would take me 3 minutes tops to do, right? I feel like it would take me like not much more than like 3 minutes if animations were completely deleted, right? So let's say they just, you know, increase the speed of the animations and it took like 5 minutes to do the fight, right? I still think I should get whatever that 15 to 20 minutes of drops that I would have gotten. I'd keep those drops the same, add a pity system, and then make it so that I can actually do the fight in 5 minutes. I think that would make grinding a lot more tolerable in this game. That's why this fight it's people's like least favorite fight. People like literally the way to do this fight and not lose your sanity is have the fight on your main screen. In between each round that takes like 1 minute and 30 seconds for animations, literally have a show open, do some homework, do something productive, like cook a meal or something like that, make food for yourself. Like it's just, you know, it's, I don't know, man, it's too much time spent. But yeah, I don't know. I'll make a video. I have like a bunch of thoughts around like just the grindiness aspect of Wiz in general. But wow, we still haven't pulled the shield. So I mean, what I could do is I don't really want to add animation time, so I'm not gonna do that. But I could go for a trap here and then do something like some cool play with like a Minotaur later on. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this because again, there's not much I can do, and that's actually really unfortunate because actually wait, no, I kind of messed up here. I should have gone for an Efreet, because the Efreet would have set up my damage over time condition, and I still would have had shields left over. But now, if I go for a shield steal into an Efreet, then I only have 1 round left of my Polymorph. So I shouldn't have done what I just did here. And the Penguin is the one where you actually do have to be careful, and you do want as many buffs as possible because it doesn't have the highest HP. So the 11,000 damage hit for the 3 pips is the same across any enemy you hit. But against the Ice one, you really want to make sure you go for those big 11,000 damage hits. Because, yeah. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay, we pulled another one, our other hit. I could, and we pulled our shield steal thing as well. I could just go for this and then do this. So I think I'm actually going to do that. Let's just build for a fire pip. This is where, again, this is where I like using a death pip. This is the one form that cannot take advantage of death pips, by the way. But even then, it's still good because it's all the way to the left, which means when I use this 1 pip spell, it's going to consume that death pip. So again, like, it's pretty nice. It is pretty nice. But yeah. Again, sit through all these animations. Sit through all of them. My flight leaves later today. Watch me go through all this, and I get, you know, maybe while I'm there, I might read some comments. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna be, you know, I'm gonna try to just like focus on family and stuff. But, you know, I'm just, and okay. At this point, it's gonna use up. If I use this spell because I have full school pips, by using this 2 pips, it's gonna prioritize using my myth pips first. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and rebuild my myth pip here before I use this. And just go ahead and do this on that one because the Penguin could Reindeer Knight, so I do want to steal the shields. Although I guess I could have used it on the Unicorn because the Unicorn does resist me, and for the after I unpolymorph phase, I do want to make sure there's not that many shields on Unicorn. But also at the same time, if I Efreet, I want to clear all the shields, all the universal shields. So I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, this is a Deer Knight, isn't it? Oh no, it's a 3-fold. All right. But yeah, so I don't know. I'll see about reading comments while I'm away for this video. I do have to leave for the airport in 3 hours from now, so actually I'm on a huge time crunch to get this video out. Ideally, oh wow, yeah, I didn't even remove a tower shield. Ideally, I would want to release all the guides for this fight. And let's go ahead and build a fire pip here just to get our Efreet back. Although, no, at this point I'm going to build for myth pip so I could earthquake out once I, you know, unpolymorph. Let's use this. But yeah, I wanted to upload, like, you know, an example video of each, like a separate videos, an example video of each run that I do. Or, you know, an example of each form. That way, you know, people can follow that and hopefully, you know, learn the fastest way for each form if they're still confused. Because this video is confusing. But we'll see about doing that once I read the comments and once I get back. But definitely let me know down in the comments below if you have questions. There are definitely people that know how to do the fight this way, and they will hopefully be able to help you while I'm away. And if not, I'll definitely answer questions on my own as well. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so at this point there is a shield. I could... See, the problem is, it can still Reindeer Knight. I wish I had one of those Minotaur things. I could go for this into this, and then if I somehow don't kill, I could then finish off with this. Okay, yeah, that works out. So I'm going to build a fire pip here just to be safe in case I get Reindeer Knighted here. I'm going to use this. It should do 11,000. If I get Reindeer Knighted, it's going to do, like, you know, 5,000, or, like, yeah, like 5,000 or something like that. 4,000 or 5,000. But we'll see. Let's see how it works. Yeah, a lot of damage over time. Okay, that clears that shield. And are you gonna Reindeer Knight me again? Okay, if it's a Deer Knight, it's fine. Okay, Deer Knight's perfectly fine. Still, it brings the damage down to 9,000, but 9,000 is still, you know, within kill shot range. Yeah, another problem with this fight, just the amount of time that these overtimes take up, and they just stack them over and over and over again. Look at that, dude. Takes up way too much time. I wish it just like detonate, or not detonate, but I wish it just like did them all at once. And the pierce animation as well, by the way, is really annoying. Like, I don't think the game needs to freeze that much for showing pierce. Yeah, this is like 9,000 something. Okay, 8,851. Not bad. The problem is, though, the penguin can reindeer knight now. And the reindeer knight really reduces the damage. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But in case it does, I am able to go for Glimpse the Divine right here. And I'll build another myth pip, because why not? Let's go for this. Yeah, again, I also don't think... another... Like, I have a lot of issues with this fight. Another issue is that, you know, right now I'm second, so I always have to predict that they're not going to use a move. Again, some of these issues would be solved just by the reindeer knight change. I think what they're going to do with it is they're going to... And again, they're not changing the actual spell itself. You'll still be... If you are, you know, you have reindeer knight trained, you go bottom path tier 3 or whatever it is, you will get the minus 60 shield. Just the version that they use in this fight, they're going to get a special version that puts on a 200 absorb. Because I know from, and if we actually check the wiki, I'm not going to check it right now, but the dog has a Legion Absorb. Like, they took the Legion Shield and made it a Legion Absorb, so they can definitely change the thing for this as well. Alright, good. Okay, it did not use a shield to my thing, so it should just die here. Yeah, 11,000 plus the 8,000 I did, it is dead. So now you will see what the Unpolymorph thing looks like. There's the Magma Man, double buffed. We have all the conditions. 11,319. And the penguin is gone. Penguin is gone, and what that means is I unpolymorph. Now your teammates would say polymorph, but they would just have to use high school pips on the random mobs to have a chance to unpolymorph. At this point, I'm just gonna, again, it becomes a regular old little blade stack fight. There are only 2 actual like percent shields on the enemies, so I think a Rain of Fire does work for me here. I'm just going to want to go for all my buffs. And I have plenty of HP, so I shouldn't be able to die. But if you are soloing this, by the way, I would wear really high resist gear. I'll actually... I probably, again, like, this video is going to be scuffed, but it'll be a learning experience for me. Hopefully, y'all still learned something from this. If not, hopefully you at least enjoyed this video. But obviously, my goal is to help people get better at it, so we'll see. I'll definitely read y'all's feedback. You can leave if you have negative feedback. I'm completely open to that. I understand. It is very scuffed, very last minute. I need to do better. But, yeah. Let's keep going for our hang effects. So let's go for this blade right now. And the myth pips that I'm generating, by the way, are in case I need to earthquake or something. I probably wouldn't need to, but we'll see. If they got like 3 shields on, then I probably would have gone for it, because at that point, those 3 shields reduce my damage way too much on the unicorn. So, but those like 2 shields is fine, because when I detonate, if I crit, I believe if I detonate it with the Raging Bull, it does like 11,000 damage. That plus the bull damage plus the little bit I do from the initial ticks should kill even the unicorn, which does resist 50% to fire. But yeah, I'll show you all the stats that I'm running. And I think, again, any school can solo this. I'm just doing it on a fire because fire, like any other school, if you solo this on, until they change Reindeer Knight and fix that, you do have to use Earthquake on every other school. But on a fire, you don't have to use it most of the time because you can just go for overtimes. I guess Myth could maybe Mystic Colossus, but again, that only works if the tower shield is on top. So, all right. I could go for another buff. Yeah, I'm gonna go for another buff just to be safe, just to make sure I do enough damage. The storm one does hit you really hard once you unpolymorph. Like, he uses very high damage spells, and he even has his aura up. Wait, we could actually die here because we're second. We can't really. Okay, he didn't. Okay, he re-aura'd for some reason. I don't know how many rounds. No, he bladed. Okay, but that's the same blade, I'm pretty sure. I don't think he has, unless it's a regular storm blade. That would actually be bad then, because then he's triple buffed and he gets so many pips too. We'll see. Hopefully we don't die. I think we should be fine. Alright. We got our Shad, so I'm going to go for my last 2 buffs, which is this Frenzy and Wildfire. So the way Wheelcast Wildfire works is you click on it, you click on an enemy, it's going to cast a spell. it uses my pets a little bit of happiness, 50 happiness right up there. And then I Frenzy. Now I get 2 buffs in 1 turn. Really, really nice for solo PvE. I want to make a pet like this for all my wizards for solo PvE. All schools have the Willcast Globals except for Life and Death. I think they do have like Willcast Doom and Gloom and Sanctuary. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. The problem is those don't really help you in solo PvE that much. Because like, you know, you're trying to, I mean, like maybe if there is a Sanctuary one, that could help if you're trying to heal. But you really, this is just to give yourself extra buffs without an extra buff without using up a turn. So, you know, I hope they add a Dead Zone one and a Circle of Thorns one as well. Because it's weird, because balance, they have Willcast Balance of Power in the game, but they don't have one for Life and Death. So I don't know. It is weird, but hopefully they add that. That'll be really nice. Willcasts are super fun. And there's other Willcasts that are useful too. If you are Life or Death Wizard, the one that I would recommend making on those 2 schools is a Willcast Curse, or sorry, a Willcast Hex. It's a 30% trap. Not as good as a 25 or a 35 global, but still, it's still a buff that you don't have to spend a turn doing. Plus, if you're spending multiple turns, you can Willcast Hex on multiple enemies. So, yeah, turn 1 I could Willcast Hex. Then, like, I think 2 turns later I can Willcast Hex again. So if you're fighting multiple bosses, you could do that, and it honestly probably works pretty well on those schools. Alright, at this point, we're going to go for the Rain of Fire. I have 3,500 HP left. Should be fine. Go for this, and then I do have the pips to do this into a Raging Bull. And the Raging Bull, after they changed it, it does detonate, which does make the combos with it pretty cool. Especially if you like, you know, double fire on a team, you could Rain of Fire into a Raging Bull immediately. Although at that point, why not just Scald Incendiate? Yeah, Incendiate's an insane spell. Alright, what is this? Okay, so that doesn't do much damage. It buffs up his next spell, but I shouldn't be able to die next turn at this point. Even if he goes for like a Forest Lord and I get hit with the Roar, I think I'm fine. Let's see. Yeah, shout out to Onion Cave for making that really awesome Roshambo wheel with all the hang effects, and shout out to all the Wiki Masters. Without them, this video would not have been, would have been very difficult to make. Very difficult. Yeah, here we go. This spell is finally being useful. I think they should just make Fire Dragon a straight hit and just make this the AoE dot. Like, Fire Dragon, all the hit is on the initial hit. So it just makes like the utility of an AoE dot, which is do a little bit of damage and then do a lot of overtime damage. Like, it just makes it like in a really weird place in my opinion, because you also lose half the enchant on the first half of the spell. So I think Fire Dragon is just better as a straight hit. I don't know, that's just my opinion. It also like kind of trivializes that spell in almost every scenario. But yeah, let's go for this, and then let's Raging Bull. This will clear their shield. Nice. They can't get any more because the penguin's dead. Yeah, hit me with whatever you want. You will not kill. Hit me with a Forest Lord. I just want to see how much it does. Do it. Oh man, you're really gonna... Okay, well, I guess we're not getting hit. Oh, okay, it's because they wanted to use more animation time. Although, I don't know, Forest Lord is probably a longer animation than this spell. Okay, I thought that wasn't going to break the shield for a second. I was like, what? Oh my goodness, these animations. Please get me out of this. I've sat through this, by the way, for like over 100 hours. Not this fight specifically. This fight probably only 50 hours. I know, right? Only. Oh my goodness, dude. It is crazy. I had to get 179 pieces of gear from this fight before I got all my pieces, which is essentially 179 runs because you get one piece every single run with a tiny chance at a second piece. So I did well over 160 runs of this fight, so I spent quite a bit of time. Yeah, literally 160 divided by 3 because you can do about 3 fights per hour. That's a 53. That's literally 53 hours right there. That's not including the few runs at the beginning that I failed. Also trying to come up with a soul strategy. The runs that I failed as well. Like, it is insane. Insane. But that's okay because I have all my gear now. Not okay for other people that still have to do this. But yeah, you get your drops. I don't know if I mentioned this, but actually I probably already mentioned it in the intro. So yeah, but yeah, you get the different drops. That was the fight. That took about 23 minutes. If I wasn't, you know, distracted by having to commentate the fight and just, you know, messing up some things and also not getting unlucky, that usually takes me about 16 or 17 minutes to solo. I have been able to do multiple runs in like as short as 13 minutes solo. So it's a pretty good strategy. Tell me you're doing design and not the final boss. It's for the video. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so yeah, that was the solo, and the gear that I'm running. I should have gone over this earlier, but I have Eternal Primordial Helm. If you don't have this yet, you can use the Highland hat. It's basically the 150 version of this hat. Primordial Aeon Cape. You can use the Merciless Robe, the 150 version of this. Eternal Primordial Boots, the Highlands Boots, or even the Dragoon Boots could work in its place. You could use the Merciless one in its place. You know, that's the 150 version of this is Merciless. 150 version of this is Merciless. For this, you could really use anything. You could use the Dragoon Amulet. You could use this amulet right here from the Bazaar. You could use the Darkmoor Amulet. There's just a lot of stuff you can use. I just like this. I like crafting the Eternal because double square socket is nice. Health is nice. Resist is nice. Block is nice. You could use Merciless in place of this. You could just use a triple double pet and just spend an extra turn using, you know, a buff if you really need it. You don't need the will cast. It just is nice. It has Mighty, Breaker, Dealer, Proof, Wildfire, and then I've socketed Brace Defy, just so I have a Defy jewel that I can unsocket without shattering it. I have the Stommy Bronto mount. You don't need the mount. And then the deck, I'm using the raid deck, the updated Void's Fiery cards, because they give a lot of HP, a lot of block, conserve. Honestly, a deck with crit is probably better. So the Demiurge deck from last year is probably better. I really hope they make a deck that gives Archmastery and a triangle socket that also gives crit as well. I don't know, that doesn't exist in the game right now. Like, you have these decks right here, which give crit and block and stuff. But the problem is they give you a tier socket, which is really annoying. Like, triangle socket is the best. So hopefully they make that. But anyways, I hope you all found this video helpful in some way. Because I'm including the full solo run as well, that literally just adds 27 minutes to the video, or almost 30 minutes to the video, which is insane. But hopefully y'all have this content to watch while I'm away. I'll be back in a few weeks. My semester is going to be 18 credits, so I'm going to be super busy. So I don't know how the video is going to work, but I'll try my best. And definitely leave comments down below. Hopefully people will answer. I'll try my best to, you know, one of the days while I'm away, try to check comments and try to reply to some of them if you'll have any questions. But I'm going to call it here. I have to leave for my flight in about 3 hours. The flight itself is going to be later in the day. And I have a 30-hour trip ahead of me, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, chat. I mean, I'm saying chat, but I'm doing this all off stream. Anyways, all y'all out there, thank you for 20,000 subscribers as well. I still want to try to do something special. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I'll think about it after I get back from break and stuff, from vacation. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Much love. Thank you so much. Have fun. Enjoy the game. And as always, good evening, everyone.